So I see excitement, but unfortunately we also are seeing acts of violence, hate speech, sometimes acts of campaigns being run on sectarian messages. And we have also seen oppressive acts against women, especially the married women, who are being forced by their husbands to support those candidates whom their husbands support, else there will be chaos in their families. So given that we are having elections very soon, for me, I would not hesitate to use the word normal, because all this excitement we are seeing is expected in this period. The acts of violence, we are doing everything to ensure that they end. And this conference is aimed, is just about that, to call upon all stakeholders, everyone, every Ugandan, to maintain peace so that we reject violence and everyone lives in harmony with the other. The 15th of January should be a day of celebration of our democracy, not marking hostilities. The police are partly right. The truth is we condemn acts of violence against police, but we don't go deep enough the way we do when we are condemning acts of violence against civilians. I must confess that this is out of fear. I think Mariam Wangandya perhaps is the most unpopular chairperson since this commission was established in 1996. And come next year, we are marking 30 years of our existence. You are listening to the most unpopular chairperson ever. The perception is I'm biased in favor of the police. And you know, with time, this works on you. I have seen the cartoons. There is one of the daily publications where every cartoon about me is very negative. I'm dressed in yellow, everything. I'm here talking about human rights, yet I'm sitting on a heap of files full of complaints of torture, and I've done nothing about it. And at one time, a group calling themselves torture survivors of Uganda, actually physically, wanted to throw me out of office. They surrounded my office and demanded that I must vacate office because I'm biased. And that was not the end. Another group who called themselves Widows of Missing NUP supporters, they also came here. They demanded that I vacate office. So, with the time, it works on you. You fear to go deep enough. We saw a policeman who was, I think this happened in Uganda district, at a burial, where a policeman was beaten to death, lynched. Yes. Another policeman was beaten to death in Dokolo, who had gone to carry out an arrest. So, you have been bringing us videos of policemen being beaten. So it's not true that we've not condemned atrocities against the police, but we are also intimidated. I know I have a tough skin, but at some point it starts wearing thin. I think to say what I said yesterday, I needed a lot of courage. To say that sometimes the police are pelted with stones. I know it is a fact, but I needed a lot of courage to say it. So our police force should understand that sometimes the chairperson feels intimidated. She does not go far enough. Because the tongue lashing, I suffer a lot. Those cartoons, the articles, the editorials aimed at the chairperson, sometimes they really, When your son tells you, "Mommy, why don't you quit this position?" So it goes deep. But we do condemn acts of police. Acts of violence against police, and but not with the same strength. The way we criticize the police when they commit sometimes even minor infractions. And maybe that partly explains why most of the complaints she registers are brought by almost, I think, 99.99%. They are brought by civilians, not police. For the first time ever, and I've stayed here for a very long period, because I'm a pioneer member of this commission, I think the cases we started hearing in Mbarara recently, that is only the second or third complaint we've registered brought by policemen. Yet, more than 99% of those registered are by civilians against the police.
A misconception about the different roles that the Commission plays in relation to investigation of cases. Under the Constitution, we are not permitted to investigate cases that are before courts of law. And so many times, many of the cases that are reported within the media are already before the courts of law. Someone is arrested and within 48 hours they are charged. For example, the incidents in Mbarara recently with the National Unity Platform candidate and the arrests that happened there were several arrests, and those that were arrested were charged. So as a first response, we did note that those arrests happened, and we went and found out whether these people had access to their lawyers, whether they all the rights that pertain to a suspect. But then they were produced in court, and that is where our mandate stops. Beyond that, we leave the courts to handle. So many of the incidents that have been arising on the campaign trail in the recent past are matters that are before court, which we may not delve so much into. But that does not stop us from monitoring those incidents and advising where necessary on what appropriate action should be taken. So we have noted the incidents that happened in Iganga concerning Okello, the deceased who died. We've not received a formal complaint, but we are closely monitoring that case. But in terms of actual complaints received during the election period, we've not received any complaints in the recent past. I believe the most recent complaint we had arose from the Kawempe by-election, and that investigation is almost complete. And we believe that at our next tribunal hearing next year, that case will be coming before the tribunal for consideration. However, I would like to call on the public. We have hotlines that are available, so we invite the public to make use of those and to make use of our app, as the chairperson has mentioned, to report any cases that you believe the Human Rights Commission should be following up. If a person believes that their human rights have been infringed, they are at liberty to come and report to us. Part of our role is to advise on what the best or most appropriate action to take is. So if a person comes and the matter is already in court, it is our responsibility to inform them that because this matter is in court, we may not be able to intervene in it. But we cannot intervene in it. But a person, we can advise maybe for them to get legal counsel to support them in any other way, or to provide any other legal remedy that may be available. So we can advise, but as long as a matter has already gone to court, by constitutional mandate, we cannot intervene in it. The law says that any person who notes that a human rights violation has occurred can report. So there's, and as I've said, this is a matter which we are following up. So our regional office in Jinja Regional Office is aware of the facts. It may not yet have reached my desk here, but we follow up. That's why I was saying that we have several roles that we play. We may institute an investigation on our own, or a person may approach us to do so. in whichever circumstance.
It's the responsibility of all stakeholders. It's the responsibility of members of the security agencies. It's the responsibility of every citizen of Uganda, every candidate vying for any position at any level. It's the responsibility of the campaign managers, the voters, the supporters, to respect the rights and freedoms of everyone, to be tolerant and listen to even views you may not like. After all, elections are built not on common belief, but on the divergence of opinions. That's why we have different candidates telling us different messages. So it's the responsibility of everyone to be tolerant, to listen to each other, and where there are any issues, to be resolved peacefully by way of dialogue, as emphasized by Human Rights Center, Uganda. But should there be a situation where the police must resort to use of force, it must be a last resort. And that force must be commensurate with the threat posed. And in the performance of their functions, in any situation, the police must front or abide by the principles of human rights. Respect for human rights must be placed at the center of every work done by the police.
I really would like to go with also what the Uganda Human Rights Commission has gone through. During this period, this election season, we have not had any incidences which we are handling. We actually had a number of incidences handling during the Kawempe by-election. That is a period where we had a number of actually journalists came to our center for treatment. Yeah, but during this period, we have not yet got any individuals who we are treating and rehabilitating. And let me say, we also use the referral network. So we have our people on the ground wherever, because we just have centers. We have a center in Kanyanya, we have a center in Gulu, Kabong, and Kasese. So we do not have a wider outreach like the Uganda Human Rights Commission. The Uganda Human Rights Commission, when they receive people for complaints, they refer to us. So for now, we have not received any people during this season.
We realize that not only the Human Rights Commission is a reliable mechanism, but however, there is also a police form 105. In case someone has been victimized by the police or has faced any poor conduct from the police, they can actually file a complaint through the police form 105. And that form can actually be found online or at any police station. Not only the police form 105, there is also what we call the PSU. Yes, that's a body in the police that also listens to various grievances in regards to the same. Not only that, police also has actually disciplinary codes. And at Justice Access Point, we've been in position to monitor and actually attend some of these hearings. So actually, cases against police officers are being handled. For example, we've seen most cases that involve gross misconduct. There is not only demotion but also losing your titles. There is also actually imprisonment in such cases, and also loss of and dismissal, and also loss of various how should I call them, allowances, various benefits, I would say. Yes. So actually cases against the police are serious, and they're actually viable mechanisms that are out there, and actually people are getting assistance. Just that as yesterday on joint press conference in regards to management of the 2026 elections campaign, if I'm 100% sure most of us here were in attendance, the police clearly stated the biggest challenge is they do not publicize these various assertions. So it's really hard for the public out there to get a know or to follow up on various complaints. And actually, this brings up to the challenge that the public has actually lost trust in the system, and that's why we are seeing actually seeing a lot of these questions of to whom do we cry for help. But I believe we as civil society, we as the Human Rights Commission, we are here to remind you that there are actually places you can go to so that you can receive assistance. Thank you very much.